The unexpected guest captain. Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the cargo hauler Persistence, watching the debris field drift past like metallic snow. 3 weeks out from Earth, hauling medical supplies to the frontier colonies, and now this, AI, distress beacon pulsing weakly from the wreckage of what looked like an alien craft. "Sir, should we investigate?" asked Lieutenant Torres from the communications station, her young face creased with concern. The ship's sensors showed no life signs, but the beacon kept transmitting its desperate plea across the void. Marcus fingered the dog tags hanging around his neck, worn smooth from 20 years of service. His father's tags, given to him the day he left for the academy. "Can't ignore a distress call, Torres, even from them." The war with the Catherian Empire had been raging for 5 years. Their sleek ships and energy weapons had pushed humanity back to the core worlds, leaving thousands dead and colonies burning. Most humans wouldn't stop to help a stranded Catherian, but Marcus wasn't most humans. The Persistence maneuvered carefully through the debris, her hull groaning as the gravity generators worked overtime. Chief Engineer Voss called up from the engine room, his gruff voice crackling through the intercom. "Captain, whatever we're doing, do it quick. The stabilizers are acting up again." Through the main view screen, they spotted her, a lone figure, in a damaged EVA suit, clinging to a piece of twisted hull plating. The suit's design was unmistakably alien, but the desperate way she waved at their ship spoke a universal language. "Bring her aboard," Marcus ordered. "Full quarantine protocols." 20 minutes later, he stood outside the isolation chamber, watching as the alien slowly removed her helmet. She was young, maybe equivalent to a human in her 20s, with pale, blue skin and silver hair that seemed to shimmer in the artificial light. Her large, dark eyes met his through the transparent barrier, and he saw something he didn't expect: gratitude. She pressed her hand against the barrier and spoke in accented but clear English. "Thank you. I am Zara Vex, engineering specialist of the Catherian vessel Star's Edge. We were attacked by pirates. My crew—" Her voice broke. Marcus pulled his dog tags from under his uniform, the metal warm against his palm. His instincts as a soldier warred with his conscience as a human being. The smart thing would be to hand her over to Fleet Command for interrogation. The right thing felt different. "You're safe now," he said simply. "We'll get you to the nearest station." Zara's eyes filled with tears. Apparently, Catherians cried too. "Why? Your people and mine, we are enemies." Marcus looked at his tags again, thinking of his father's words about doing what's right even when it's hard. Maybe that's exactly why someone needs to start being different. Bridges built in steel and stars. The next few days aboard the Persistence were tense. Marcus had confined Zara to the medical bay, more for the crew's comfort than security. She'd proven herself harmless, even helpful, when she'd assisted Chief Voss with repairs to the ship's aging power coupling. "Never seen tech integration like this," Voss admitted grudgingly, wiping grease from his hands. "She understands our systems better than some of our own engineers." Marcus found Zara in the observation lounge, staring out at the star field. She'd traded her damaged suit for crew coveralls, though they hung loose on her slight frame. His dog tags caught the light as he approached, and she noticed them immediately. "Those markings," she said, pointing, "they are important to you?" He sat down across from her, the metal still warm against his chest. "They belong to my father. Died in the Proxima campaign, fighting your people." He watched her face carefully, but instead of shame or fear, he saw understanding. "My brother was at Proxima," she said quietly. "Pilot on the Void's edge. He never came home either." She traced patterns on the table with her finger. "Do you hate me for it?" Marcus considered the question seriously. "I thought I would. But you're not the Empire, are you? You're just someone trying to survive." Zara smiled, the expression transforming her face. Your father's tags. They represent honor, yes? Duty to protect others? Something like that. Marcus touched the chain. Why? Because that is why you saved me. Not Marcus the soldier, but Marcus the man his father raised him to be. Their conversation was interrupted by Lieutenant Torres bursting into the lounge. Captain, we're picking up distress signals. Multiple ships under attack by Ravager pirates. Coordinates coming in now. Marcus was on his feet instantly. The Ravagers were the scourge of the frontier, savage raiders who attacked both human and Catherian vessels without discrimination. How many ships? Looks like a civilian convoy, sir. 3 cargo haulers and their escort. Torres paused, checking her data pad. Sir, they're Catherian vessels. The bridge fell silent. Everyone waited for Marcus's decision. Standard protocol would be to avoid engagement, report the incident to Fleet Command. Let the aliens handle their own problems. Zara stood. Beside him, her voice barely a whisper. There will be families on those ships, children. Marcus thought of his father's voice, talking about doing what's right when nobody's watching, about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. He looked at his dog tags one more time, then tucked them back under his uniform. All hands to battle stations, he announced. We're going in. Sir? Torres looked confused. Those are enemy vessels. No, Marcus said firmly. Those are people in trouble. Helm. Set intercept course. Maximum burn. The Persistence might be just a cargo hauler, but she was built tough and armed well enough. As they raced toward the battle, Marcus felt his father's presence, approving of his choice. Some things were more important than war. When honor calls, the pirate attack was chaos made visible. 3 Ravager destroyers circled the Catherian convoy like wolves around wounded prey, their crude vessels bristling with salvaged weapons and jury-rigged armor. The convoy's single escort, a sleek Catherian frigate, was already listing badly, atmosphere venting from multiple hull breaches. Captain, we're outnumbered and outgunned, Chief Voss reported from the engine room. The Persistence wasn't built for this kind of fight. Marcus studied the tactical display, his mind racing through possibilities. 20 years of military service had taught him that sometimes the impossible was just another word for untried. Torres, open a channel to the convoy, full spectrum. Zara moved to his side, her face pale but determined. Let me speak to them first. They need to know you're here to help. The alien woman's voice filled the bridge as she spoke rapid Catherian into the communicator. Even through the translation static, Marcus could hear the surprise and disbelief in the responses. A human ship offering aid? In the middle of a war zone? They're accepting our help, Zara reported. The convoy commander says their escort can't last much longer. Marcus nodded, fingering his dog tags through his uniform. His father had always said that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was acting in spite of it. Voss, divert all power to forward shields and weapons. Torres, target the lead Ravager. We're going to punch through their formation. The Persistence surged forward, her cargo bay doors sliding open to reveal the defensive turrets Marcus had installed after too many pirate encounters. The old ship might not look like much, but she'd been built to last, and Marcus had made sure she could bite back when cornered. The first Ravager destroyer turned to meet them, its patchwork hull gleaming. With battle scars, energy bolts lanced out from both ships, lighting up the void between them. The Persistence shuddered under the impact, but her shields held. Their armor's weak on the port side, Zara called out, studying the sensor readings. If you can get angle on their power coupling. Marcus didn't hesitate. Helm, come about 15 degrees port. Torres, concentrated fire on their engineering section. The gamble paid off. The Ravager's engines flickered and died, leaving the destroyer drifting helplessly. But the other 2 pirates were already moving to surround the human ship, and the convoy was still in danger. Sir, the Catherian frigate is making a run, Torres reported. "They're trying to draw the other Ravagers away from the cargo ships." Marcus watched as the damaged alien warship limped toward the remaining pirates, her weapons blazing despite critical damage. It was a suicide run, and everyone on the bridge knew it. The frigate's captain was sacrificing his ship to buy time, for the civilians to escape. "Like hell," Marcus muttered. He pulled his dog tags from under his uniform, holding them tight. His father's metal, warm with shared purpose. "All power to engines, we're going after them." "Captain, that's suicide," Voss protested over the intercom. Marcus looked at Zara, seeing his own determination reflected in her dark eyes. "Sometimes," he said. "Suicide is just another word for the right thing to do." The Persistence dove into the battle, her guns blazing, her human crew fighting alongside alien allies against a common enemy. In that moment, the war seemed very far away. The weight of metal and memory, the battle turned into a deadly dance of survival. The Catherian frigate Silver Dawn had taken critical damage to her port side, but her captain refused to break off his attack run. Marcus watched through the view screen as the alien ship traded shots with two Ravager destroyers, her elegant hull scarred by energy blasts and missile impacts. "Their captain is ordering us to break off," Zara translated, her voice tight with emotion. "He says this isn't our fight." Marcus almost laughed. "Torres, send this message back. Tell your captain that honor doesn't recognize borders." The Persistence rolled beneath a spread of plasma torpedoes, her hull groaning under the stress. Chief Voss's voice crackled through the intercom, reporting damage to the port thruster assembly. They were running out of time and options. "Zara," Marcus said suddenly, "can you access their communication systems? Coordinate our attack patterns?" She nodded, moving to the auxiliary station. Her fingers danced over the controls with practiced efficiency, bridging the gap between human and Catherian technology. Within minutes, she had established a tactical link between the two ships. The difference was immediate. The Persistence and Silver Dawn moved as one, their combined firepower focused on the weakest Ravager destroyer. The pirate ship's shields collapsed under the coordinated assault, her hull splitting open like a broken egg. Atmosphere and debris scattered into the void, but the victory came at a cost. The remaining Ravager, desperate and cornered, turned all weapons on the damaged Catherian frigate. The Silver Dawn took the full brunt of the attack, her shields failing completely. "They're abandoning ship," Torres reported. "Multiple escape pods launching." Marcus didn't hesitate. "Tractor beam, bring them aboard." "Sir, our cargo bay is almost full with refugees from the convoy," Lieutenant Torres warned. "Then we make room." Marcus looked at his dog tags, thinking of all the times his father had talked about leaving no one behind. "Voss, can you rig emergency life support in the secondary holds?" "Already on it, Captain," came the gruff reply. These old ships were built to carry hope, not just cargo. As the rescue operation continued, the last Ravager destroyer made a run for the jump point. Marcus almost let it go. They'd saved the convoy, rescued the survivors. The mission was complete. But something in Zara's expression stopped him. "What is it?" "That ship," she said, pointing at the fleeing Ravager. "I recognized the hull configuration. They were at Proxima." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Proxima? The battle where your father died, where my brother died. That ship was part of the Ravager fleet that attacked the medical transports." For a moment, Marcus saw red. The pirates who had turned a military engagement into a massacre, killing wounded soldiers and medical personnel from both sides. His hand closed around his dog tags, metal cutting into his palm. "Captain?" Torres waited for orders. Marcus looked at the fleeing ship, then at Zara, then at the refugees they'd just saved. His father's tag seemed to pulse with warmth against his chest, reminding him of the man he'd chosen to become. "Let them go," he said finally. "We've got people who need our help more than we need revenge." Zara smiled, and Marcus realized that somewhere in the chaos of battle, they'd stopped being enemies and started being something else entirely. The war would continue, but maybe, just maybe, they'd proven that it didn't have to define them. The true meaning of honor. 3 days later, the Persistence limped into Kepler Station, her hull patched with emergency plates and her cargo holds filled with an unprecedented mix of human and Catherian refugees. The station's docking control seemed confused by the request for humanitarian aid, but Marcus's reputation as a reliable captain opened doors that politics might have kept closed. As the refugees disembarked, Marcus found himself in his quarters, finally alone with his thoughts. The dog tags lay on his desk, catching the light from the viewport. 20 years he'd carried them, and only now did he truly understand what his father had been trying to teach him. A soft knock at his door interrupted his meditation. "Come in." Zara entered, no longer wearing borrowed coveralls, but dressed in civilian clothes that somehow made her seem more alien and more human at the same time. She carried something in her hands, a small, intricate piece of metalwork that gleamed with inner light. "I wanted to thank you," she said, "before I report to the Catherian embassy." Marcus nodded, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in his chest. Of course she had to go. The war was still on, and she was still technically his enemy. "You don't need to thank me. Any decent person would have done the same." Would they? Zara moved closer, studying his face. "I've been thinking about your father's tags, about what they mean to you." She held out her hands, revealing the metalwork she'd been carrying. It was a small pendant, crafted from pieces of debris, metal from the Silver Dawn, the Persistence, and even fragments from the destroyed Ravager ships, somehow woven together into a pattern that caught and held the light. "In Catherian culture," she explained, "we believe that honor isn't something you inherit. It's something you forge, moment by moment, choice by choice. This pendant, it's made from the metal of every ship that was in that battle. Human, Catherian, even Ravager. All of it transformed into something new." Marcus took the pendant, surprised by its weight. "Zara, I can't—" "Your tags represent your father's honor," she interrupted gently. "But this represents your own. The man who chose to save his enemies, who showed mercy to pirates, who proved that the war doesn't have to win." She reached out and carefully lifted his dog tags from the desk, then threaded her pendant onto the same chain. The two pieces of metal settled against each other, different but somehow complete. "There," she said, placing the chain back around his neck. "Now you carry both legacies, the honor you inherited and the honor you earned." Marcus felt the weight of both pendants against his chest, warm with shared purpose. What happens now? Zara smiled sadly. "Now I report to my superiors. Tell them about the human captain who risked everything to save Catherian lives. Maybe it will change some minds, maybe it won't. But the story will be told. And us? There is no us," she said softly. "Not while the war continues. But Marcus," she paused at the door. "When this is over, when the shooting stops and the healing begins, look for me. The galaxy is big, but honor calls to honor." After she left, Marcus sat alone in his quarters, fingering the two pieces of metal that now hung together around his neck. His father's tags, worn smooth by time and devotion. Zara's pendant, sharp with new purpose and possibility. Outside his viewport, the stars wheeled in their eternal dance, indifferent to the small conflicts of mortal beings. But somewhere among those stars, Marcus knew, there were others like him, and Zara. People who chose compassion over hatred, mercy over revenge, hope over despair. The war would continue, but it wouldn't last forever. And when it ended, maybe there would be room for something better. Something forged from the broken pieces of the past, transformed into a future worth fighting for. The dog tags and pendant clinked softly together as Marcus finally settled into sleep, carrying the weight of two kinds of honor into whatever tomorrow might bring.